You open your kitchen cabinets during a crisis. There's food everywhere, shelves are stocked. You feel okay at first. Then reality hits, the stove won't light, the power is gone, and the water pressure is barely a trickle. Suddenly, half of what you're looking at is completely useless. Rice needs boiling water. Pasta, same problem. Frozen meals? You don't even want to open the freezer at this point. This is the gap. And it's a gap almost nobody closes until they're standing in their kitchen, hungry, frustrated, and kicking themselves for not thinking ahead. The truth is, having food and having usable food are two completely different things. One keeps you calm, the other keeps you hungry. What actually matters when normal life stops functioning is not how much food you have stored. What matters is how much of it you can open and eat right now, without electricity, without gas, and without running through a complicated recipe in your head while you're already stressed. That's what this list is about. Practical, honest, no-fluff choices that serve a real purpose when things get genuinely hard. And here's something worth saying up front. The number one item on this list is not expensive. It's not a specialty survival product. It's something sitting on grocery store shelves every single week, usually ignored. People walk past it constantly. Then, when things fall apart, they wish they hadn't. Let's get into it. 16 hard candy and glucose tablets. This one sounds almost too simple to include. That's exactly why it's on the list. Hard candy is not a meal. Nobody's pretending it is. But there are specific moments in a crisis where what your body needs is not a full plate of food. It needs a fast signal. A quick glucose hit to pull you back from the edge of mental fog, shakiness, or the kind of irritability that makes bad situations worse. Blood sugar drops quietly. You don't always notice it happening. 1 minute you're handling things reasonably well. 10 minutes later, you're snapping at your kids, making rushed decisions, or sitting down when you really shouldn't be. Hard candy addresses that specific problem in about 3 minutes. Glucose tablets available in pharmacies are even more precise. They're designed for exactly this scenario. Diabetics carry them for low blood sugar emergencies. But in a crisis, they serve anyone who's been running on stress and not enough food. The storage case is also perfect. Hard candy lasts for well over a year in sealed packaging. It takes up almost no space. It weighs nothing. You can keep a small bag in a car glove box, a jacket pocket, or tucked into a first aid kit. And it costs almost nothing. Use it as a bridge, not a base. When you need to stay sharp for another hour before a real meal is possible, this is the item that buys you that hour. 15. Dry cereal before you roll your eyes. Stay with this for a second. Most people associate cereal with a bowl, milk, a kitchen table, and a normal morning. Strip all of that away and what you have left is a dry, shelf-stable, calorie-dense food that can be eaten by hand with zero preparation. No bowl required, no spoon required, certainly no milk required. During a disruption, breakfast is often the meal that falls apart first. People are disoriented. Kids are anxious. Nobody knows where to start. Having something familiar that can be handed to a child in about 4 seconds is genuinely valuable. Not because it's nutritionally perfect, but because it's normal. And in a crisis, anything that feels normal keeps people calmer. Choose cereals with lower sugar and higher fiber content. Granola works well here too. Oat-based options digest more slowly, which means you stay full longer instead of crashing 20 minutes later. Store in an airtight container once opened. Cereal's biggest enemy is humidity, not time. A sealed container in a dry spot can keep it usable for months beyond the printed date. 14. Shelf-stable cheese or cheese crackers. This is another underappreciated category. Individually wrapped shelf-stable cheese portions, the kind you sometimes find in convenience stores, require no refrigeration until opened. They're portion-controlled, they provide fat and protein, and they pair with almost anything else on this list. Cheese crackers in sealed snack packs serve a similar function. They're not going to be your primary calorie source, but they fill gaps. They give you something satisfying between more substantial foods. And they're the type of item that travels well. Backpack, glove compartment, emergency bag. Fat is important to mention here. It's the most calorie-dense macronutrient. In situations where you're eating less overall, making sure each item you eat carries real fat content means you stay full longer per calorie consumed. Cheese delivers on that. 13. Dried fruit resins, dried mango, apricots, cranberries. This category doesn't get enough credit in practical preparedness conversations. Dried fruit is essentially fresh fruit with the water removed and the shelf life dramatically extended. A bag of raisins that costs almost nothing can last for a year or more in sealed packaging. It provides natural sugars for fast energy, fiber for digestive stability, and micronutrients that processed snacks simply don't carry. More importantly, it changes the texture and flavor experience of your food supply. After 2 days of eating salty, savory, or bland emergency foods, the sweetness and chewiness of dried fruit becomes genuinely welcome. That's not a minor thing. People who stop wanting to eat during a crisis often do so because the available food has become mentally exhausting. Dried fruit breaks that pattern. Mix it into oatmeal. Eat it with nuts. Put it on crackers with peanut butter. Use it to make a basic trail mix that travels with you everywhere. If you're finding this useful, drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. More content like this keeps coming. 12 tortillas. Here's where things start getting seriously practical. Picture this. Power's out. The stove is cold. You haven't slept properly. Outside, people are already moving in lines toward whatever stores are still open. Inside, you have food, but almost all of it requires conditions you no longer have. That's when you discover something important. Tortillas are already a meal delivery system. Open the package, eat one, that's it. No heat, no water, no tools, done. But tortillas aren't just edible on their own. They transform other things. A pouch of tuna becomes a wrap. A few spoonfuls of canned beans becomes a legitimate handheld meal. Some peanut butter and dried fruit becomes something a child will actually eat. Without the tortilla, those items sit separately and feel inadequate. With it, they become organized, manageable, and closer to a real meal than anything else you could pull together in 30 seconds. There's also a practical angle most people don't consider. Hot food produces smell. Cooking produces light and sound. In a prolonged neighborhood-wide outage, or a situation where you'd prefer not to advertise that you still have food, tortillas let you eat quietly. No fire, no steam, no signal to anyone outside. For portability, they're exceptional. Flat, lightweight, don't crush easily the way bread does. A pack fits into a backpack or car trunk without complaint. Buy several smaller packs rather than one large one. Keep a pack in your car. Rotate them into your regular meals so nothing expires. A lot of people will read this and still walk past tortillas at the grocery store. They'll reconsider when it's too late. 11. Instant oatmeal. Here's the thing about crisis situations that most people get wrong. The first day is usually manageable. People are running on adrenaline. They're problem solving. They're still in motion. The moment that actually breaks people is the next morning. Sleep was bad. The mind is heavy. Mood is fragile. The body is starting to realize that yesterday's snacks weren't enough, and today has to start somehow anyway. That's the morning where a lot of poor decisions get made, a lot of family tension starts, and a lot of energy gets wasted before the day has even properly begun. Instant oatmeal is built for that morning. You don't need to cook it. Cold water works. Add the water, wait 15 to 20 minutes and eat. No electricity, no gas, no stove. While other people are staring at ingredients they can't use, oatmeal is already ready. The energy it provides is worth discussing separately. A proper serving carries enough to fuel you solidly for 3 to 4 hours. It doesn't spike and crash. It doesn't give you 20 minutes of false energy followed by a wall. It provides a steady, consistent release that lets you stay functional when functioning is what's required. Add a spoon of peanut butter to stretch the fullness further. Add a bit of honey for quick energy on top. Add some canned fruit to make it easier to eat. A food that costs almost nothing becomes a surprisingly complete breakfast with minimal additions. After multiple days of salty, processed, or canned foods, the fiber in oatmeal also helps your digestive system stay regulated. When everything else is already under pressure, not having gastrointestinal issues is actually a significant quality of life improvement. Store it in airtight containers. The packaging it comes in is usually fine for a year or two. The real threats are moisture and insects, not time itself. One large bag divided into smaller sealed portions can fit almost anywhere. 10 canned fruit. There's a mistake that's common in crisis preparation. People plan for survival but forget to plan for willingness. There's a difference. Survival means having enough calories. Willingness means actually being able to get those calories into your body when stress has killed your appetite and everything tastes the same. By day 3 of eating crackers, beans, jerky, and salty canned food, many people start looking at their stockpile with genuine reluctance. The body still needs fuel, but the mind is resisting. That's a real problem with real consequences. Canned fruit solves it without requiring anything from you. Open it, eat it. That's the entire process. The syrup or juice inside the can deserves special mention. Most people drain it without thinking. In a normal context, that's reasonable. In a context where water access is limited or inconvenient, that liquid is a small but real resource. It hydrates, it provides sugar. It gives the body something that feels like a treat when treats have completely disappeared from daily life. Natural sugars in fruit also raise blood glucose quickly. When someone in your household, especially a child, is becoming irritable, unfocused, or tearful from hunger and exhaustion, a few pieces of peaches or mandarin oranges can shift the entire atmosphere of a room. That's not exaggerated. Small things carry outsized emotional weight when everything else has become difficult. Psychologically, the softness and sweetness of fruit creates a sense that some normalcy still exists. That sense is genuinely useful. It keeps people regulated in ways that are hard to quantify but easy to observe. Choose pull-tab cans. Pick fruit packed in juice rather than heavy syrup. Rotate them through regular use so they never sit forgotten until expiry. Appreciate this content? Like the video, drop a comment below, and subscribe. It genuinely helps. Protein bars. There are moments in a crisis where things don't break slowly. They break in a 20-minute window. Blood sugar drops. Hands get slightly unsteady. Thinking gets muddy. Small problems feel massive. You snap at someone you shouldn't. You make a rush call that costs you later. Most people attribute this to stress. Sometimes that's true. But often, it's simply the body running on empty, asking for fuel and not getting it. Protein bars are built for exactly that window. No preparation, no tools, no setup. Tear the wrapper and eat. Most bars carry between 180 and 250 calories along with 10 to 20 grams of protein. That's not a complete meal, but it's enough to pull you back from the edge of poor decision-making. Think of it as a bridge back to functional. The portability is unmatched in this category. A protein bar fits in a jacket pocket. It sits in a car compartment for months. It goes into an emergency kit without taking up meaningful space. Portion-controlled packaging means you eat one and stop, rather than opening a large bag and eating far more than intended. Don't use them as a primary food source for multiple days. That's not what they're for. Use them during movement, when handling urgent tasks, in early mornings before anything else is ready, or when you feel clarity starting to slip. That targeted use is where they perform best. Heat is their main enemy during storage. A car in summer is not a reliable storage location if you live somewhere hot. Rotate them regularly. The shelf life is generally 6 months to over a year depending on the brand and type, but quality degrades faster in warm conditions. On a regular day, it's just a convenient snack. On a difficult day, it prevents the kind of decision that takes weeks to undo. 8 crackers. Nobody has ever felt excited about buying crackers. There's no moment of satisfaction at the register. No feeling of having done something impressive. They're just crackers. Boring, familiar, completely unremarkable. And that's exactly why they work. Crackers create structure in a food supply that has otherwise become chaotic. Put tuna on a cracker and you have a defined eating event, a small meal that feels intentional. Spread peanut butter across a few, and you have a compact, calorie-dense snack. Pair them with cold soup, and you've added both texture and fullness to something that would otherwise feel thin. That sense of structure matters more than most people realize. When daily life falls apart, even the act of sitting down with a defined food item helps the mind anchor to something recognizable. It's not dramatic, but it's real. Crackers also help with portion awareness. A large open bag of anything tends to disappear faster under stress, because eating becomes unconscious, comfort-seeking rather than deliberate fueling. A small stack of crackers makes you aware of what you're consuming. In a situation where restocking is uncertain, that awareness matters. After multiple days of soft, wet foods, soups, oatmeal, canned fruit, biting into something with actual crunch provides a sensory reset. It sounds trivial. It isn't. Moisture is the enemy here, not time. Seal crackers in a dry location store well for a long time. After opening, an airtight container or resealable bag extends quality significantly. Choose options with low sugar, a firm structure, and a neutral flavor. Very sweet crackers get tiring fast. Very thin ones crumble and become frustrating to eat. Simple, overlooked, and reliable. In a disrupted situation, that combination is hard to beat. 7. Nuts. If you had to name one food you could pocket right now and walk out the door with, nuts would be near the top of that conversation. Calorie density in a small package, healthy fats, some protein, real minerals, genuine satiety that lasts. These are characteristics that most bulkier foods simply can't match in terms of portability. That's why people who spend long hours on the road, hiking extended trails, or working through demanding physical days reach for nuts without much thought. But the most underrated value of nuts shows up in the early chaotic hours of a disruption. The house isn't stable yet, the phone is ringing, someone needs something. Information keeps changing. Plans shift. Nobody is sitting down for a meal. But bodies are still burning energy constantly, quietly, without pause. A handful of almonds in that moment is more practically valuable than any food requiring 5 steps to prepare. It goes in the hand. It gets eaten while moving. It maintains enough blood sugar to keep people functional and less reactive. Someone once shared a story about a prolonged power outage after a major storm. What they credited for keeping family tension low during the afternoon wasn't anything dramatic. It was a container of almonds on the kitchen table. Anyone passing by grabbed a few. Nobody got too hungry. Nobody got too irritable. Small, consistent fuel beats one large meal followed by a long gap. Salted nuts taste great but increase thirst. If water is limited, keep some unsalted options available. High natural oil content means nuts don't handle extended heat well. Cool, sealed storage is always better. Shelf life ranges from several months to over a year depending on packaging. Portion them into small bags. Under stress, people eat emotionally from large containers. Smaller portions remove the need for constant self-policing. If this is clicking for you, like, comment, subscribe. Takes 2 seconds and it means a lot. 6. Peanut butter. There's a quiet type of failure that happens in extended crises. The house has food, but nobody wants to eat it. Prolonged stress does this. It suppresses appetite. It makes food feel like a chore. Things that seemed fine on day 1 start feeling dry, bland, or simply too much effort by day 3. Peanut butter cuts through all of that. 1 to 2 spoonfuls carry significant calories alongside fats and protein that work together to keep you full for a surprisingly long time. No stove, no waiting, no complicated anything. Unscrew the lid and use it. In a period where every task feels heavier than usual, foods that remove preparation steps entirely are worth far more than their price tag suggests. The energy profile matters here. Sugary foods give you a quick rise and then drop you. That drop brings fatigue, irritability, and renewed hunger that's often worse than before. Peanut butter works more slowly, more evenly, without the sharp fluctuations. When external conditions are already unpredictable, your internal state benefits enormously from stability. There's also the matter of what children will actually eat during a disruption. A child who refuses cold beans or canned soup might eat peanut butter on crackers without hesitation. Familiarity overrides reluctance. And when someone in your household, adult or child, stops eating because nothing appeals to them, peanut butter often closes that gap. It also improves everything around it. Stir it into oatmeal. Spread it on a tortilla with dried fruit. Pair it with crackers for a snack that actually satisfies. A single jar quietly improves the usability of your entire food supply. Store unopened jars in a cool, dry location away from direct sunlight. Use a clean, dry spoon to avoid introducing moisture. Natural varieties simply need stirring. Keep 1 jar in daily rotation, 1 as backup, and a few small single-serve packets for portability. 5. Jerky. Sometimes what you need isn't a full meal. You need something that fits in your pocket and carries you through hour 3 of a day that hasn't stopped demanding things from you. Jerky exists precisely for that need. Moisture is mostly removed, weight is minimal, protein content is high, shelf life is long. When an emergency bag has to balance water bottles, medication, important documents, a flashlight, and clothing, food that is both compact and nutritionally dense wins every space competition. But there's an advantage to jerky that rarely gets mentioned. Chewing time. Most fast snacks disappear in seconds and leave you still feeling empty despite having eaten. Jerky takes time to chew. That slower pace allows fullness signals to actually register. The mind also benefits from the rhythm. Under prolonged stress, anything that slows you down slightly without stopping you is valuable. One driver described being stuck on a highway for nearly 6 hours due to a major accident ahead. Water in the car, everyone growing irritable. A few packs of jerky under the seat changed the dynamic more than any update on the radio did. That's not a survival story, that's Tuesday in a crisis. Jerky also works during movement specifically, walking, standing in line, driving, clearing storm damage, waiting for hours with no timeline, no preparation, no equipment. Open and use while continuing whatever you're doing. Read the labels. Products with excessive sugar are protein-flavored candy. Heavy sodium content increases thirst, which creates problems when water is limited. Good options have clean ingredient lists and protein content that's clearly labeled. After opening, consume relatively quickly or reseal tightly. Divide your supply, some in the car, some in a bag, some at home. Concentrated, portable, honest protein. 4. Ready-to-eat canned soup. Here's a paradox worth naming. When water becomes scarce, many people stock up on foods that actually require more water to digest, cook, and wash down. Crackers, jerky, salty snacks, instant noodles, all reasonable choices individually. But collectively, they create a water demand that compounds quickly. Canned soup flips that equation. You're not just eating food when you open a can of soup. You're consuming liquid, electrolytes, softness, and something that a fatigued body can accept without effort. Soup is easy. When everything else is demanding something from you, food that asks nothing in return has real value. It also removes a specific burden that doesn't get discussed enough: decision fatigue. When the mind is under stress, even deciding what to eat becomes exhausting. A ready-to-use item that requires no thought, no assembly, and no cleanup removes one more item from an already overloaded mental queue. If you have access to any heat source, warm soup is obviously better. But most varieties can be consumed cold and still provide everything they're supposed to. That flexibility is the real strength. It doesn't need ideal conditions to be useful. Pull tab cans only, familiar flavors you actually like. Don't buy something on discount that you've never eaten before. A crisis is the wrong time to discover food preferences. Check every can for deep dents, rust, or swelling, and rotate your stock through regular meals. On a normal day, canned soup is what people buy when they don't feel like cooking. On a difficult day, it's what solves multiple problems simultaneously without asking anything back. Enjoying this? Like, comment, subscribe. Keeps this kind of content coming regularly. 3. Tuna and salmon pouches. The most common error in building a food stockpile is not a shortage of calories. It's a shortage of protein within those calories. Bread, noodles, cereals, snack bars. You can stock plenty of these and feel like you've prepared well. But after several days, the body starts sending a different signal. Hunger comes back faster. Energy drops harder. Fatigue settles in a way that's difficult to pinpoint but impossible to ignore. The body is asking for protein, and fish pouches are one of the most efficient ways to answer. A single pouch fits comfortably in one hand. It typically carries more protein than foods 3 times its size. No can opener required, no stove. No cleanup beyond disposing of the pouch itself. Tear and eat. When every step of food preparation feels like an effort during a crisis, fewer steps isn't a luxury, it's a practical advantage. The difference between a protein-based snack and a carbohydrate-based one becomes clear fast when you're in sustained, difficult conditions. One person described removing candy and sugary snacks from their car after years of long-distance driving. The reason was simple. Sugary options gave maybe 20 minutes of alertness before a heavy drop. A tuna pouch provided hours of steady, comfortable energy that didn't demand anything afterward. Salmon pouches add omega-3 fatty acids on top of the protein. That's not a minor bonus. Omega-3s support cognitive function, which is exactly what you want to protect when stress is already hitting it from every other direction. Versatility is another strength. Eat with crackers, wrap in a tortilla, mix with canned beans for a complete protein and fiber combination. Add some hot sauce or pepper and eat straight from the pouch. A small item that works across multiple contexts. Store in a cool, dry location. Test the variety you plan to buy in larger quantities before you commit. Personal taste matters, and a crisis is not the time to realize you don't enjoy the flavor. 2. Ready-to-eat packaged meals. The item near the top of this list isn't here because it's the cheapest. It's here because it addresses the resource that's most expensive in any extended crisis: mental energy. People tend to think of emergency preparedness in terms of calories. That's partially correct. But on a yet genuinely difficult day, what people are also running low on is time, patience, clarity, and cognitive bandwidth. The more exhausted a person becomes, the heavier even simple questions feel. What should I eat? What do I open? How do I put this together? These seem trivial in normal life. Under sustained stress, they add up. Ready-to-eat packaged meals remove those questions entirely. Open. Eat done. Portions are predefined so you're not making decisions. The macronutrient balance is already handled. No multiple preparation steps, no tools, no cleanup. A rescue worker once described what's needed after hours of continuous physical and emotional effort. Not the most flavorful meal, not something impressive. Something reliable, fast, and completely undemanding. That's what ready meals provide. They don't ask you for anything at a time when you have nothing left to give. The common hesitation is cost. They are more expensive than canned goods. But consider the full equation. Cheaper foods that require fuel, water, preparation time, and mental overhead often cost more in practice than their price tag suggests. When simplicity is the most valuable thing in the room, paying a slight premium for it can be entirely rational. These meals perform best when leaving quickly, eating while moving, or when the mind is already saturated. Keep them in a cool, dry place. Check expiration dates on rotation. Avoid prolonged heat exposure. On a normal day, it's a convenient shortcut. On a chaotic day, it protects the mental clarity you need to handle everything else around the food. Canned beans. The top spot goes to something so simple that most people genuinely don't register it as a preparedness tool when they walk past it in the grocery store. Canned beans contain carbohydrates for immediate energy, protein to sustain fullness and support muscle function, and fiber to keep digestion functioning properly when everything else about your diet has shifted dramatically. That's 3 meaningful nutritional functions from one inexpensive, widely available, shelf-stable item. The single biggest advantage is that the cooking has already been done for you. Dry beans are cheaper, yes, but dry beans need water, time, heat, and attention. Canned beans need a pull tab. When there's no power, limited water, and depleted motivation, the item that requires the fewest steps from package to mouth wins every time. One person shared an experience after a major storm left their area without power for 3 days. There was rice in the house. There were other ingredients. But nobody wanted to deal with the effort of cooking anything. Pull-tab cans of beans became the household's primary lunch meal for all 3 days. Some pepper, a bit of hot sauce, wrapped in a tortilla. Not a restaurant experience, completely effective. Beans also pair with almost everything else on this list. Eat them with crackers. Mix them with tuna. Add them to oatmeal for extra protein. Pair them with cold rice if the rice was cooked before the situation started. A food that works across multiple combinations is worth far more than its individual nutritional profile suggests. Choose pull-tab cans as a strict preference. Check regularly for any swelling, deep dents, or rust. Rotate them through regular cooking so your stock stays fresh without waste. A lot of people view beans as a side dish. In a crisis, they become the anchor of the entire meal. Everything else on this list gets better when beans are part of it. The bigger picture, here's what ties all of this together. Preparation is not about fear. It's not a pessimistic act. It's the most straightforward form of caring for your family that exists. Doing it before conditions make it difficult, rather than scrambling when the window is already closing. You don't need significant money to start. You don't need dedicated storage space. You don't need to buy everything simultaneously. What you need is to start with one item. Add another the following week. Rotate them through regular use so nothing expires. Build slowly while conditions are still stable and choices are still easy. Every can of beans in your cabinet is not just food. It's a decision you made early. It's calm when everyone around you is reacting. It's options when others have none. It's the ability to focus on what actually matters during a crisis instead of spending that energy on figuring out where the next meal is coming from. The people who navigate difficult situations with the most stability are not necessarily stronger or wealthier. They simply thought about this earlier than everyone else. They bought a few tortillas on an ordinary grocery run. They kept a jar of peanut butter in a drawer. They rotated their canned goods without making a big deal of it. That's all this is. Ordinary action taken before extraordinary circumstances arrive. Start today. Start with one item. The gap between prepared and unprepared is usually smaller than people think, and it closes faster than anyone expects once you begin. If this helped you think differently, like the video, leave a comment with what you're adding first, and subscribe. More practical content like this on the way.